The Marinade.
There's no O in marinade. Let's try it one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The Marinade.
Marinade.
Bone marinade. The
That's
Marinade.
The Marinade. With Jason Earle. Welcome to the Marinade with Jason Earle, episode 23, and a very special episode indeed. This is the first of our 2018 in Review series. I've invited a few artists that I appreciate to record episodes discussing our favorite records of 2018, and then just kind of getting down about creative process. Kevin Maines of the Volts joins us on this episode to discuss the Grammy-nominated masterpiece from the Wood Brothers, One Drop of Truth. Kevin and I go all the way back to the Little League fields of Ocala, Florida, so this was a special thrill for me. The song you are hearing is Holy Roller, off 2017's Raiders on the Southern Wild. You can find Kev's records by searching Kevin Maines and the Volts wherever you consume music, or at kevinmainesmusic.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the first of our 2018 In Review series featuring Kevin Maines.
Not too long is trying to catch me on the 441. Now I'm run down. He ran me down in the midnight hour, and he put his light on my face. He got me walking down that straight line. I can't say my name. Won't you take me home to the river so I can find my soul? Oh, so I can find my soul.
Now we're going to talk about the Wood Brothers.
Best. Yeah,
Cheers, dude.
Hey, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's good beer. What is this?
Free Dive from Coppertail.
That's a good IPA.
Yeah, I like it.
It's not as abrasive as some of them.
No, it's easy drinking.
Yeah.
You're the sound guy, but I think optimal would be probably about right here.
Sure.
And you can do whatever you want really with that.
For voices, I think we're okay.
Cool. So why'd you choose the Wood Brothers?
Well, laziness. so that I wouldn't have to dive in a whole bunch to albums that I haven't listened to a whole bunch to, because that one got a lot of play. Oh, are we recording now?
Yeah, we've been
okay.
recording this whole
Good.
time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's why I was late answering the door, because I wanted this organic moment.
Right,
that I just
right.
ruined by saying organic.
That's
moment.
jazz. That's jazz, baby. We listened to that album a decent amount on the road, and I'm not really one to wait for the next band's great album to come out and then do it. Like I didn't even know that album was out. I mean, I think it came out in February. I didn't pick it up till we went on tour, which was May or something like that. Because there's so much music throughout the ages that I haven't heard and listened to that if it's new, it doesn't matter. It might as well be old.
Wow.
To me. So
Yeah.
So that was one of the few albums that I've got into this year that actually came out this year.
Oh wow.
One of the few,
Huh.
truthfully, because it, like I said, if I get a hold of something and I haven't heard it, I mean, there's as good of a chance of it just coming out as it coming out 40 years ago. But that one, as soon as the first song grabbed me, just because it's got just such a likable, major chord feel, bright, that we went the whole. I went the whole way through it many times, because when when we're driving, I tend to do a lion's share of the driving for the most part, like 90% of it, because Joey doesn't drive, so he sleeps. He just doesn't want, like, he gets scared of the van. And I get so bored, and Greg drives, and it drives me nuts because he's insane. He drives the 4-ton van like it's a Ford Focus.
Yeah.
Late break and all that stuff. I just take him out of the equation. Don't let him drive unless I'm super tired or I know I'm gonna sleep through it. And I get so damn bored back there. So I drive. So I get music choice, and so normally it's either an audio book or a podcast or something. But when I get something that you can just go to that's really roadworthy, it'll get many spins all the way through. So I take it in more as an album than individual songs, because I can't sit there and look at my phone about the whole thing and really dive into it. So just kind of get the overall feeling about the album, and that one gave a really good feeling. I mean, I think we've done that with pretty much all their full albums.
Yeah.
Because they've got such a great groove, I guess, which I don't hear as much with a lot of folk bands, like folkish type of things. Because folk bands tend to gear more towards the lyrics, and the vocals and everything like that a lot of the time. And kind of the harmonies with the acoustic instruments. With them, because of Chris Wood, and everything they have, it's going to have this like Medeski Martin and Woods undertone that is just, it's so movable.
Yeah.
A couple of those songs, Jano Ricks plays a very Medeski Martin and Woods drum beat that's got a lot of those kind of clickety clanking sounds in the back that just kind of move it along. That it's like it's not head bobbing, it's like shoulder bobbing. I'll be driving and my shoulders are just uncontrollably moving to the 16th notes on those. I don't know what he's banging on. It sounds like he's banging on a glass cup half the time.
Probably his little shitar.
Probably the little, he may.
That's
right. He may have that little thing going, and it's just so movable. So, yeah, that's kind of the reason that album for sure stuck out to me this year. It got more play probably end to end than any new album I heard this year, I'd say.
It's so interesting that you consumed it as a full record, and I would imagine, I'm guessing, if you're anything like me, that's a thing you like to do anyway, is the full work. Right?
Prefer to, yeah.
Right.
It's not always possible nowadays, and it's, and damn it, damn habits to hell. Because of how we normally consume music on our phone in our everyday life nowadays, when we want to do that, half the time I forget to do it. I'll be listening to an album on my phone, unless it's a record, unless I'm spinning vinyl. If it's a record, I'll find myself clicking around and listening to the first 10 seconds of every song, seeing if I dig what's going on. Stop it. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, quit listening to this like you heard some random pop song and you just want to check it out. Like, listen to the album.
Right.
Grow up.
Right. Right.
So you have to go back and do that. But yeah, with that one, it's easy when you're driving for 5 hours because you got nothing else to do.
Well, and he said when on episode 5 when I interviewed him, he said that he was like he said that they wrote it over like a 9-month period, or recorded over a 9-month period.
Really?
Yeah, and so they were like, they used different engineers. I think they used like 4 different engineers.
No kidding.
They produced it themselves. Took them 9 months to make. And they didn't think as much about a cohesive work. They did think a lot about sequencing.
Sure.
Right?
It feels that way.
Right?
Yeah. It feels like a really well done indie album. With how the sequencing was. It feels like the songs weren't written specifically front to back, left to right for an album, which is how most indie artists do it, because they get to write at leisure. Right? If you're signed to a label, if you don't have any new material and the label wants an album by the end of the year, you sit down and you write your album from one side to the other, just and it comes out like a book pretty much. But when you're indie, half the time you got all these songs, especially if you're a writer like Oliver Wood probably is. He's probably just got stacks and stacks of lyrics all over the place, just waiting for the right moment to put melody in there. They come out in pieces, and then you get to play the strategic game at the end of putting them together the right way. Whereas when you do that with a record, and I don't know because I've only been an indie artist, but I would assume that somebody else probably has a lot bigger hand in that, in the sequencing of your album than you do. Whereas with this album, it felt like they sequenced them kind of in a way that was a little bit reflective of how they were written. I don't know, it just feels that way. Like it flows in a different way than a big label album does.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know why that is. I don't know what it is. You know, you've got a lot of those random kind of songs in the middle that almost feel like a Tom Waits type of thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, that I forget which track it is. It's like number 4 or 5. That's another thing is I don't know hardly any names to any songs because I just listen to them without looking.
Strange as It Seems and Sky High.
Strange as It Seems, right? Yeah.
Sky High is the one that has that.
Yep. It's a little bit more up tempo.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that one almost feels almost more modern indie rock. That one, or something that you'd find in an iPod commercial.
Oh,
from
wow.
like the early, like 2010.
Yeah.
It was like that kind of thing where it's some unknown artist that nobody hears and it's got that
Yeah.
that really, like, you hear it and you go, oh, iPod, because that's a sound you don't hear.
Right.
You don't hear that melody with that particular instrument ever. And Apple would choose that to be in their song because you go, holy shit, that's original.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Tom Waits one that's in there, that's how it strikes me. It's got to be. It's not Happiness Jones. Oh, it's Laughing or Crying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one. You know, just kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That you almost, if that was a major label kind of pulling the strings on that, I don't know if that song would make it in there, or it'd probably be like track 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Right? But to put that one right after Happiness Jones, which is almost like a Medeski Martin and Woods meets Motown type of feel.
Yeah.
Is really kind of random and out of left field. That the way that it works, that contrast when you listen to it right through, it's like it gives that song probably more weight than it would have if it was not after a song like Happiness Jones.
Right.
Right? It puts you on the floor and you just go, man, this band can do a lot of different shit.
Right, and then that last part, the last, I feel like a lot of that really heavy Medeski Martin and Wood influence comes at the end too. Mm-hmm. Some of those songs are jazzy and funky as hell, like real kind of esoteric kind of feel, you know, real trippy.
Totally.
You know, like you ever seen Medeski Martin and Wood?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Oh my god.
That's got to be Chris's doing. I don't know Oliver. He seemed like he could probably get out there too. And Jano Ricks is insane.
Yeah.
But Chris Woods is just like this forward-thinking jazz genius.
Yeah.
It's depressing.
Well, and
how incredible that guy's ears are.
But part of that has to be, and I wonder about this for your own creative process, like he came up in that jazz scene in New York in the 90s where like there was this crazy stuff going on.
Right.
And he just sort of was in this magic moment where you could walk down the street and hear this incredible, this incredible band, and then that nobody at the time had heard of, and then you go down the street and somebody else is playing, and now they're all kind of fairly household names.
Sure.
But at the time, it's just that why you end up there and how you end up there, and how your choices lead you to that moment has such a huge influence on whatever happens after that.
Yeah, totally. A guy like that, he's got kind of the his path to get there was kind of like how you want to draw it up as far as somebody becoming this really like outward minded musician, because they all started with the simple stuff when they were kids, but the good stuff like the blues and things when they're with their dad and when they're young. But then he got the tools because then he went to jazz school,
right,
and all that stuff before even getting into it. So I'm sure the guy probably spent a few years playing nothing but classical music.
Right.
So he got the foundation of skill traits.
Yeah.
So that when his mind finally really started reaching, his fingers could do anything that he wanted them to.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, half the time musicians get to it from the other way around. I mean, I certainly did. Just because you weren't raised musical.
Right.
Like purely musical, or, especially on the classics or straight ahead jazz or anything like that. So then your mind and your ears start thinking and wanting to do things that your fingers can't do yet. So then you got to go take a year to go learn them, and then hopefully those thoughts are still there when you come back to them and you're able to. So, yeah, he's kind of built like a robot in a lab for being just a perfect specimen of rooted enough to play in a band like this that's really song based.
Yeah.
But out there enough to make it interesting.
Yeah.
You know, that's what he does. Is he just makes it interesting.
That's so well said. And there's so many components to what makes someone like Chris Wood tick. I mean, there's also, if you've ever seen them, you ever seen them live?
No, I haven't. No.
Their live show is outstanding, and he is the centerpiece of it. Now he's the fucking bass player.
Yeah.
But still, you can't get your eyes off of him. He dances all around, and he's got his big, beautiful upright bass, and he dips it and does this wacky dance.
Does he?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's really, really fun, and that's a part of the show, you know. And I mean, the music holds up. They could just stand up there and not say a word and just play those songs, and it'd be a hell of a show. You know, they could George Strait it for us, and it'd be great.
Of course.
But he gives that part too. You know, you got that whole performance part that comes into it as well. That takes it to a completely different level. Yeah,
which is some you don't. Well, I mean, I guess maybe you do see it from a 3-piece, but I don't hear sounds out of a 3-piece like you hear from them. Usually, when you think of 3 pieces, for me at least, obviously you go to power trios. You know, from Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan and those guys, and so it to me and I played in 3 pieces for years, and it always felt pretty restrictive. Granted, that's when I was doing pretty much exclusively just blues and stuff, and it's so damn guitar heavy, right? It's just mid range right in your face for 4 hours. They get so many different sounds and ideas and dynamics out of the things that they do as a 3-piece that is way more like lightly stated than a power trio is. I mean, when you've got a power trio, normally most of the time the electric guitar player's playing or the guitar player's playing electric, and he's playing through all these pedals, and they got all these different sounds. They're playing, for the most part, Oliver's playing an acoustic guitar. I mean, he'll pick up a hollow-bodied electric sometimes, and Jano back there will play keys every once in a while, but Chris is for the most part just on that stand-up bass. So you don't think that they'd be able to get as much out of it and get as much different feels as they do outside of just rhythmically, but they do. It's like they play, and you think that there's like 7 of them up there.
Right.
Even though it's not like they're playing different instruments, different hands, they'll switch instruments, and you forget that there's no drummer on this song.
Right.
Because dude's playing keys, you just forget there's no drummer.
Yeah.
It's like the drummer's implied.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because you hear of notes being implied.
Yeah.
You don't hear of an entire instrument just sort of being implied, but they kind of imply a drummer.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe it's that rhythmic feel of when Chris fills in the bass like that and makes it more. It's just. Yeah, it's nuts. I think they're like the perfect 3-piece. To me, they're the perfect 3-piece kind of folk band because they have so much groove. If music doesn't have groove, I'll kind of tend to get away from it after a while. Which is why I usually listen to folk music in like 30-minute increments, and then I'll go listen to like Brothers Johnson or something, because like the folk, the words are so heavy usually most of the time, or Americana, right? The words just cut you right like a knife. Yeah. And that's probably the point. Yeah. Well, exactly. Is to understate the music half the time, because the voice and the lyrics are the thing. Yeah. So you want those to really be unencumbered to really hit it. To be able to get both is a pretty tough thing to accomplish. Yeah. Like at least from a producer's standpoint, I think I'd get in the lab with those guys and just go, I don't know how the hell to get this where you guys want to go, without probably overdoing it. But they figure out a way to just, at least on that album especially, to put it right in the middle.
Have you had a similar experience as a producer?
Not really, because I've only produced my own stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so with my stuff, I mean, I'm producing Gene's album right now.
Right, Eugene Snowden for those listening.
Yeah, Eugene Snowden from the legendary JC's fame, local fame,
Yeah,
regional fame. And his music is, it's very heavily rooted.
right.
And that's kind of one of the things that I think he probably brought me in for was to make it a little bit more interesting, and a little bit less, 1950s and 60s Motown, and a little bit more of the little things that make a song a little bit more interesting and give it a little bit more of a lean, with it still retaining its very good straight ahead old school soul groove.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with my stuff, I mean, my last album was the only album I've produced because of mine, because I worked with Justin Beckler on the first one, who produced a lot of Kaylee Baker's stuff.
Oh, okay.
He produced all of Andy Matchett's stuff back in the day. Emily Kopp's stuff. He's a local guy, and he's gone really heavily into licensing music. So I don't think he's produced a regular album in 4 or 5 years. But so we worked with him on American Hustle, and I got to just sit with him basically, and I was just sponging everything that he did in, and then took a lot of those ideas and made them more of what, like I took from what that album I didn't like that came out and changed it, and took the things that I did like and just stole them from him basically. Just
Sure.
Took all of his process.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
And so with my album, my last album got really far out there. So yeah, there was. I mean, I guess when I say it like that, there was a little bit of the same maybe, because my album has a big time element of Controlled Chaos. The Vault's last album,
which I fucking love, by the way. I was playing it earlier, and I've listened to it several times, but
thanks.
Yeah, it's great. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the idea with that album a lot, is the Controlled Chaos feel that you got a lot of from like Voodoo from D'Angelo.
Ooh.
And especially, I mean, I drew a lot from that album. I always draw from that guy every day.
Yeah.
He's like top 5 for me.
Yeah.
And Prince had a lot of that, had a lot of Controlled Chaos, and a lot of kind of those, neo funk songs. Yeah, Parliament had a ton of them. I was listening to a lot of Parliament when I wrote, when I was producing that Raiders, that album for my band. And, like Maggot Brains, albums like that just have, they're so far out there.
Right.
I didn't want to go that far.
No,
Yeah.
Those are, you got songs on there.
Oh, I wanted
those
some.
are-
I wanted some songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really like that idea of kind of listening to it and going, like, what are they doing? Is none of this planned? Are they just jacking around in the studio? But then you hear a couple things and go, oh no. For those to be in there, they had to have practiced all that jacking around. Like it had to be a nice mixture of freeform and, oh, that's freeform, but they know what they do. They know what they're doing. It's not just bullshit.
Yeah.
So, and that's a hard balance to get. So I guess in that regard, maybe there's a little bit of that, but the way that the Wood Brothers did it on that album, I don't know, it's such a different thing because they play such acoustic instruments.
Right.
That, I don't know. I mean, their songs feel a little bit more rooted than anything that I've produced.
I'd like to get it. I wish we could teleport Oliver or Chris or both, and Jano. I wish we could teleport the Wood Brothers in here.
Yeah.
For a second, because when I interviewed him, their album hadn't come out yet.
Okay.
So we caught up in 2017, October. Record came out in February of this year. And so they pretty much finished it, and the first single had just dropped, which I think was One Drop of Truth. I think it was the title track. And so then he's telling me about it, but man, it would be fun to get that level of, how is it that you mostly play acoustic instruments and yet it sounds like all of this stuff is going on, but the point you made earlier about the rhythm and how important that is, and I want to say it was Lennon who said, John Lennon, not V.I. Lennon.
Lebowski, Vladimir Ilyich
Ulyanov.
Yeah. Which Lennon? I'm the Walrus. Yeah.
I'm the Walrus.
I'm the Walrus.
And Lennon said,
John Lennon.
John said, the rhythms and the guitars, man. That's my best John Lennon.
That's pretty good. Yeah,
Thanks,
that's pretty good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he said the rhythms and the guitars, like that, you know, it didn't matter if they had a drummer or not.
Right. Of course.
They were going to figure it out.
Sure.
You know? They're going to make it happen.
Yeah. Well, that's how Eugene plays guitar. He plays guitar like a drum. Well, you know, what it is that he does with his guitar is much more like a drum. You know,
Like when he throws it on the ground?
Well, not so much that part. That's more Gene treating the guitar like his dances. Yeah. It's yeah. You should get him in here one day. That'll be 6 hours that flies by.
Dude, I was gonna have him on once, and then it fell through. Something happened on my end, not on his end.
It's the most entertaining human I've ever come across, man.
But like, I think it's instructive for everybody listening. Just that, like, last weekend, Kevin played with Eugene, and it was a fucking riot.
It's amazing.
He's amazing.
He can go for 6 hours and just entertain the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And he could play, not play.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't
half
matter.
the time he's not playing. He's pointing at someone. Yeah. He's laughing.
Yeah.
He's making some sexual remark or some joke, or, you know.
Yeah.
And gets away with it all.
The comedy aspect of his show has come a ways in the last few years. He's really, it's like Night at the Improv meets, you know, back alley juke joint blues.
Well, the first time I would imagine anybody who's seen Eugene has their first I saw Eugene moment.
Yeah, everybody.
You know, and I remember he opened for the legendary JC's, opened for JJ Grey and Mofro back when JJ Grey and Mofro was just Mofro.
Right.
Which is interesting. Let's talk about that too with Kevin Maines and the Volts in a second, because he went the opposite direction of what you're doing.
Right.
But they opened at Legendary JC's opened at what used to be called Covered Dish, and it was Common Grounds in Gainesville.
In Gainesville, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I think it's High Dive now.
Is that the same place? It is.
I think so. It's like that big room that's like, not big, but you know what I mean.
It almost feels like it could be a line dancing room.
Yes.
Yeah.
That place. And, you know, JJ Grey and Mofro, those guys are fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, just an amazing band. And JJ is an incredible performer. And I remember leaving that place being like, how the hell did they choose this guy to open for JJ? Like, because Eugene stole the show. He did a split. He jumped off the stage and did a split.
Yeah. That was something he was a little bit younger.
About
10 years more limber,
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to do the splits for sure. You're right. He's the only guy that can maybe out showman JJ Grey.
Yeah.
Type of thing. It's
pretty intense.
Yeah. And he does it with his eyes closed. My dad eats that guy up. He'll go see Eugene anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're so fortunate, and this town has such an outside of this town. I'm not sure people appreciate the music scene or understand what we have here. We really do. Any given night, you can go see an incredible performer. You mentioned Kaylee Baker. Someone who, it's just criminal that she's not known outside of this town very well. I mean, she is, but not on the level that I think her talent deserves.
Yeah. Well, agreed completely. And I gave up on trying to figure out the whys and the whats with this industry. I don't know, maybe out of self-preservation through just massive amounts of failure, you just finally go, man, fuck it, I don't care. Like that's how I know that things happen, because fuck it, I don't know, I don't care, right?
But also, if you're focused on that, and I've talked about this on the show before, if you're focused on Sadler Vaden from Jason Isbell in the 400 Unit, episode 20, he mentioned to me, he's like, you know, you think about all these great bands, like a truly great band that was trying to be famous isn't really a thing.
Right.
You know, truly very few bands go, yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I mean, maybe Cobain, you know, like very few people were like, I'm going to be a big pop star.
Yeah.
You just make the music and you do the work, and then hopefully either somebody pays attention and it becomes something bigger than it is, or worst case scenario, you're fulfilling your inner artist and doing what you need.
Yeah, and isn't that it in almost everything?
Yeah.
Almost every job outside of the professions that literally the point of the job is to make money, like trading stocks or things like that.
Right.
You know, those guys don't do it to be an artist of stock trading. They do it literally because that's the job. You make a good trade, you make money.
Right.
But everything else, I mean, I've read a lot of books when it comes to business magnates of our time. Your Steve Jobs of the world, your Walt Disney's, your George Lucas's, whatever. Guys like that I tend to obviously choose the ones where they're creators, but of you know, visual art type of things or movies or whatever. And that was the main vein running through every one of them. That was common is that none of them were trying to do that. They were trying to do the thing that they were trying to do at all costs. Didn't care if it bankrupted them, if it failed. There were always better options monetarily to do things a different way that would have made it safer and were probably a safer bet to do if finances was their end goal. But it was always about creating something great in whatever medium they were in. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's podcasting. I don't care if it's visual art. I don't care if it's music. I don't care if it's computers. Like Steve Jobs just wanted to create amazing products. And that's all he gave a shit about.
Right. That
were groundbreaking and different and everything like that. Whether they worked or not, that. And it's not that he got lucky that he got that big, because that was his process and his thing. The rest took care of itself.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, the same thing's 100% true in music. I mean, until you go into the pop realm where they are manufacturing songs strictly for album sale purposes, and looks and everything like that. Outside of that, there's nothing but the art form. That's all there is. And if you do everything else, you'll drive yourself crazy. And I don't think that I did that when I was younger. I may have a little bit, just because you're young and stupid, and you want to get into music and you want to get laid. Right?
Well, and you started it like kind of late.
Very late, yeah. I didn't start playing guitar until I was 21.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't start at 20. So I didn't technically join my first band until I was like 27. Something like that.
So, like, the balls that takes, too, like, to some extent, like, you gotta either, the balls or the...
Stupidity.
Yeah, I was gonna say the naivete.
The naivete. Yeah, I didn't feel like it was real ballsy at the time doing it. I feel like it was more naivete and laziness.
Yeah.
Not wanting to get a job.
Yeah.
I think that was more it. I don't want to act like I'm some brave thing for picking up the guitar and trying to get girls at the age of 25. That part came pretty naturally. But continuing to do it, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the motivation was. But yeah, after doing some of that a bunch and not really knowing the industry and failing pretty miserably at what most people would think is the end goal, and which was my end goal at the time, looking back, it shouldn't have been my end goal.
Right.
Then that kind of, it's a gut shot, but it makes you really realize how much of it's not in your hands. So all you can do is the things you control, which is the art, and which is the process, and which is the product of what you're doing. So those are the things that you concentrate on. Yeah. Wish I would have known that earlier, but I damn sure learned it for our last album. And I think that you can tell the difference day and night. Not that American Hustle wasn't a good album.
Right.
It's a good album, but in all truth, that album's good because of Justin Beckler. The things on that album that make people like it, in my opinion, are the way that he produced it and the way he put it together. I mean, I wrote all the tunes and everything, but he made that thing sellable. Raiders on the Southern Wild, that album is just all the art. It's all the album, and it's far from a song standpoint, far from a performance standpoint, groove, melody, likability, everything to me, it's far superior. It's because that's all I cared about. I made the thing thinking, I don't care if anybody hears it. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I don't care if and actually, when I was making it at the time, I wasn't even putting a band together. I was just making it with musicians that I knew in town that I wanted them to bring together the songs that were in my head and the tones that I had rolling around in my brain, and I wasn't even really gonna release it. Maybe I just wanted it, right, and wanted to make this thing that had been like eating at me for a while. I'm like, I just got to get this damn thing out, and prove that I can do it to myself. And then when it was out, then a couple other things happened and put a band together and started playing it, and then here I am, and the Volts happened. But all the other stuff is just in the business and why people get to where they are. I don't know why they happen, and in all truth, I don't care too. Doesn't matter.
Did you go into Raiders? You said you had to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go into it thinking about a cohesive record, or was it a bunch of ideas that came together?
About 7 of them. Yeah, 7 of them were there, and I knew that they'd be right for one album.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to produce an entire album. I was just gonna put together basically those 7 tracks and do all singles. But they were all together at about the same time. One led to another. I'd sit there to write one of the tunes that was just, gnawing at me. Like half of my melodies come to me in the shower, which is odd because you can't get them down.
There's nowhere to put that.
Nowhere to put them.
You need a waterproof recorder.
I keep it outside the thing.
Do you really?
Yeah, on my toilet.
Do you seriously?
And I'll open it up and I'll start humming like it's normally a bass line will come to me and then a horn line, which is odd because there's not many horns in that album. and I'll sing those into it, and then I'll get out of the shower, dry off, and run into my studio. And run real quick to like a MIDI recorder and just knock it out real quick so it doesn't leave. Yeah. Because you never think it's gonna leave, but if you don't get it down,
it's gone, man.
It's gone.
We've talked about that before.
That's right. Yeah. You when you're looking to write something, literature, if you don't get it down,
you gotta put it down.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's so cruel.
And
fuck
depressing.
That. Yeah. And the next thing you have, then you compare it to the one that's gone.
Right.
It's never as good, even though it probably is.
Sure.
But you don't think it is.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so when I'd start to write one, man, everything would lead to the next thing. It was a really easy album to write the songs to. The rest of it, all the over-the-top stuff that kind of came out, and the little stuff that you hear in the back, that was all a process of really just kind of letting the song talk to you and write itself. I'm kind of a big fan of that, of letting the song sort of write itself. And I mean, it's a hard thing to do if you have an idea of what the song should be to begin with going in. A lot of times you don't want to change it or take it in a completely different direction. I find it a lot more fun to just let the thing lead you where it needs to go.
Right.
Even if it comes out completely different on the other end and it leads to a point where shit, this song has gone somewhere to where the lyrics aren't really where they should be anymore. Yeah. Then you got to go back and write the lyrics again. I mean, it's a painstaking process, but it's almost like writing a song through editing, and it is an annoying process. If you get somewhere with it and you go, God, this clavinet here sounds better than the organ, but if I don't have the organ here, then this doesn't feel gospel anymore and it feels funk, and then my words should be a little bit more staccato to make them feel better inside of this rhythm, and then and those words don't fit with this type of kind of cadence, so now I got to write all new words.
Right.
And then you write all new words and it's a different song, and you go, well, now that these words are here, these things don't lend themselves to these horns.
Oh,
and then you cut the horns. You could do that forever.
Sure.
Eventually you whittle it down to where it's like, okay, we're real close. I can fuck with this thing forever.
Yeah.
It's there. Take your hands off of it and go. And that's kind of that's how Raiders came out, was a few singles, but as I was writing them, they piled on into other ideas of songs that wouldn't work within the construct of that song. And then they really kind of grew themselves organically. It was a super organic album. It really did just start kind of as just a one little idea for one song, and it turned into the whole thing. And then when we finally decided to go with a full length album, then I realized I needed to give it a couple more tracks to make it full length instead of kind of the 7 or 8 track middle ground or 9 track. And then I was like, I had a deadline that I'd given myself that I really wanted to hit, because I knew that we needed 2 months of promo for it, a month to get CDs printed, another month to get T-shirts in, because my booking agent already had shows booked up. Like, he had a release run of shows. I'm like, wait, this thing has to be out by then, or we're touring behind nothing, and that's gonna fail miserably.
Yeah.
We won't have anything to sell anybody. We won't make any new fans. Like, they'll like the music, but if you don't give them something to go home with, they'll forget.
Right. Pass on to their friends.
Yeah, pass on to their friends. They'll find something else. So we had to get it done, and I kind of got lucky to where I don't even remember how it happened because it happened so quick. But Holy Roller and Mad Moon were the last 2 songs that I wrote for that, and they came out like in a day.
Wow. Yeah,
it was one of those kind of moments that doesn't normally happen for me.
Holy Roller is maybe my favorite song on the record.
It's maybe the best song on the record, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's if you're into swamp music, it's it's by far the best song because it's
that makes sense.
That's
why I gravitated toward it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wrote that song after getting arrested in Gainesville, leaving the High Dive. Played
Oh,
a
no
damn
shit.
show at the High Dive.
What?
They threw me in jail.
What? Tell that story.
Well, we were playing in front of this. This was back when it was the Kevin Maines band with Dave Martyr and Todd Warsing. We had American Hustle House. This had to be post 2011, so it was probably like 2012, 13. And we went to the High Dive. It was the weekend of the Orange and Blue game.
Okay.
We played opening up for some kind of one of these, it was like a bro country type of thing.
Yeah.
Right? Which was an odd.
It's an interesting billing.
Yeah. And I mean, the promoter told me, he's like, yeah, this guy sells out the High Dive every time. And he's like, can you bring out a couple people? I'm like, yeah, I can bring a few out. I'm from Ocala, so it's like, some of the folks will go up there.
Yeah.
It was kind of before most of friends my age started having kids, so they were still able to get out.
Yeah.
They're all married, but they didn't have kids yet.
Yeah.
And so, so they could get out of the house. And so we showed up, and sure enough, I mean, we drew a lot, like 30 to 40.
Right.
The other guy drew like 10. That's how it always happens.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Anybody sells you a load of shit like, hey, you can open for this guy, unless you know who they are and know they're an actual band. They're going to bring out 200. They bring out 10. That's the way it works. It's just so we played basically in front of, that's a big room, so 30 people doesn't look real big.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we played and that was fine. And well, this guy was actually, I think he was from Gainesville, and he had his uncle bring his RV around back to kind of act like it was a tour bus. So stupid. It was poser shit. And but he did have a whole bunch of moonshine on there.
Oh, okay.
So we sat there, me and my brother, who's in my band. At the time he wasn't, but we sat back there and drank moonshine till like 3:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting ready to leave. And I'm like, it's pretty late. And Ocala's right up the road. I probably shouldn't have been driving. I can handle my liquor pretty darn well.
Yeah.
But probably shouldn't have been driving. I remember looking at the Holiday Inn or whichever hotel it was right there. I was like, maybe I should just get a room. So now screw it, man. Ocala's right up the road. I'll get there. It's no issue. Not thinking in my head that you got to go through Wildwood and all that stuff to get there.
All those speed trap towns.
All of them, yeah. And so I pull into
Waldo.
the IHOP there on 441 because I'm like, I'll get some coffee. I'll sit here and eat pancakes for an hour. By then, I'll be good to go.
Right.
I go in and it's just wall to wall people. So I was like, man, I'm gonna wait on this. So I get in. I remember distinctly pulling up the stop sign, staring at 441, and I'm like, all right, I can either go left and go to Ocala and go through, like it was like a haunted movie. Looking at it, it's like, the trees reaching over the road and it's dark, and like crows looking at me and vultures flying. It's like I can go that way and it's right there. It's like 20 miles. I was like, I should be able to do that. I could take this thing around Talladega right now. I'm good. I was like, or I can make a right and go back down University and go all the way to I-75. I was like, I gotta go past campus, and then I can get there. I go, that's the long way. Man, I can get it. It's right there. Yeah. And so I'm making a left. So I make a left. Man, it wasn't 20 feet. Right when I turn left. 20 feet. And it was old Trooper Murphy, and his name's in the song actually.
Oh man.
Trooper Murphy
and
pulls me.
You dropped 441 in there too, right? In the song.
I think it is in the song.
Yeah.
Gainesville PD's in there, GPD's trying to catch me is in there.
So
on the 441.
Yeah.
And they pull me out and they go rummaging through my car and rifling around all my stuff. And he finds my my glass slide here in my car. So they said, I'm playing a gig, so I got my glass slide. Which, if you don't know what that is, it's just a little, an old kind of pill bottle that they probably used during the Depression era or something.
Right.
Made out of glass. And it kind of looks like the type of thing that, I don't know, maybe cocaine dealers would store their coke or crack in the 80s or something. I don't know. I'm pretty sure we've gone past that by now. But
I don't know. But
anyway, he wanted to confiscate it because if you look at it, it kind of looks like it's got some residue in there, which is just salt and sweat from my hand.
Right.
So he wanted to take it. I'm like, man, you can't take that. It's the last one I got another show in 2 days. I need that thing. I don't want to use another one. And he's like, no. And I go, I swear to you, it's a musical instrument. Let me show you. I was like, I'll play my acoustic guitars in the back. He's like, let me play it real quick, and you won't take it. He's like, absolutely. So I sat on the back of my car, and I played a few bars of Folsom Prison Blues because I knew they were getting ready to take me to jail. So I did that, and he's like, okay, fine. I won't take it. Just throw it in the back. It's fine. And I tried to use that as I was like, you know, I played your song. Can that get me out of this? Come on, that seems like a fair
trade.
And he's like, no, absolutely not. I probably sounded like shit. Probably,
Yeah,
probably dug more of my own grave.
Right.
Trying to play it. It was probably
This guy's
awful.
not a musician.
Yeah, he's like, I know Folsom Prison Blues, and that's not it. So they threw me in the clinic. Pretty typical, you know, Central Florida guy story. I think every single one of us has been.
I don't know how I've dodged that bullet.
Have you really?
Yeah, I have. But
Lucky boy.
But dude, I've done all that shit you just described. I just haven't had a cop take me to jail somehow.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of my rationale behind it. Is when they finally got me in it. You know, the first time they dropped it, of course, like they always do. Shit, what was I gonna say? I figured I owed them one over the years.
Right.
I was like, I probably owe you guys a couple for this. I don't mind. Let's go ahead. You know, I mean, as soon as I was kind of a smart ass too, which wasn't the best idea. But they were going. I was going anyway. I knew right when they were going. I'm like, well, this is. Yeah. Well, the other guy told me that they had just we were in the car and kind of because at this point I'm sort of happy drunk. In the back of the car and. I know the deal here.
You're just letting go.
Yeah, I'm just letting go.
Yeah.
So I'm messing around with them and having good times. They were nice guys. And my dad's a cop, so I was,
right.
I'm not going to call them pieces of shit.
Right.
Or anything. I get it. Just doing your job, and my bad. And so we were in the car, but he told me, he's like, man, you almost made it. He goes, we had a roadblock there because it was Orange and Blue night. So we had a roadblock there all night, just lining them up and just marching them to jail.
Yeah.
And he goes, you were our last one. We had just shut it down, and we were about to go in, and right when we saw you roll through that stop sign, of which I answered, I didn't, but go ahead, because I know what I did. But anyway, go ahead. He goes, he's like, we basically flipped a coin. We're like, should we let this one go? Nah, screw it. Let's pull him over.
No way.
Because that's why they pulled me over for saying I rolled through the stop sign, which I still did not. But that's what they pulled.
You
me
feel
over
confident you did not?
Yeah, because I legitimately remember stopping at it and looking down the evil road, and I think I was stopped there for 5 minutes because I was like, should I go that way or should I go this way? And I thought about it, man.
Yeah.
Like they
But you had moonshine all night, so 5 minutes might have been like
maybe less
than a
I
second.
probably flew right through the damn thing and like swerved across on
sped up,
right?
sped up through the stop sign.
Of course. Yeah, I'm reasonable. I guess anything's possible. But yeah. But so that's how that song, I hadn't even thought about it in like 5 years because I did all this stuff that you do and the hoops that make you jump through. And, you know, God, if you've never had one of those, don't get one. It's just awful. I wanted to do the jail time instead of all the stuff. Like, I asked my lawyer, I go, can I just like go to jail for maybe a week or something in general pop and then I don't have to go to rehab for like 2 years? And he's like, no, if you do that, they're going to make you do the other stuff too. I'm like, well, then that doesn't.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like I should be able to trade one for the other. Like, I'm not going to jail.
Like trading a song for getting away with it.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
It feels like I should be able to do
Feels
that.
fair.
Yeah, it feels fair. Not, because they make you, like they put me in rehab with, heroin addicts.
Right.
For like a year.
That's crazy.
And I'm going, yeah, I drink maybe once a month. Like, I'm not a big drinker. And they're all over here just like, yeah, I flushed my life down the toilet from heroin. I would feel bad. They'd come to me and just go, well, how was your week? I mean, it was pretty good. Went to work. It was fine. Do you have anything to drink? No, because I usually don't.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, it's kind of awkward. They make you do all that stuff. But anyway, so that's how that song got on the album. And then the song Mad Moon got on. I kind of ripped off a little bit of it in all truth, or at least one part of it from, I just heard Thomas Wynn and the Believers, a new album that came out last year. Mm-hmm. And it's a great album.
Yeah.
Really well produced too. Really, there's really cool, interesting stuff in there that is my favorite part of that band because there's a ton of rock and roll bands out there, but not a lot of them are really interesting to me. Their album is good music to begin with, but it's also interesting. There's some interesting shit going on in there that really grabs my ear. But the beginning is the harmonies that him and his sister sing on the first song, Man at a Time, I think. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was so cool because I rarely hear that. It's almost like an Indian type of chant that they're doing. Really cool. So because of that, it hit my ear so heavy that I was like, I need an element sort of like that. And I just gotten done watching American Werewolf in London, which is one of my favorite movies. I watch it probably once a year. And I went home and I'm messing with music, and I lay down that harmony, something kind of similar in that vein of just kind of a chanting type of thing. But with a little bit more, it's a little bit more kind of R&B and kind of bluesy, you know, as opposed to theirs, which is a little bit more rock. And brought in like a gyro to play on it in the beginning opening part, and then the rest of the song is just it's lyrics about the movie. It's a movie song.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's completely just about American Werewolf in London.
Huh?
Yeah, which I'd never done before.
Yeah.
But I was just feeling really good about it, and I was like, you know, Led Zeppelin used to write songs about Lord of the Rings.
Right.
All their
Like,
songs about
lots of
Gollum.
them.
Yeah, a lot of them. And it just felt really good, and the music I was writing was kind of dark.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that song it's just a song that should have been in that movie. Basically, is all it is.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah, but those two wrote themselves in like a day.
That's fantastic.
You know, so I was able to get that album done.
Cool.
Yeah, so.
Dude, can you play us something?
I can, yeah, I can do that. I brought this guitar
Okay.
because I was just gonna use yours.
Yeah.
I was practicing these tunes on a really nice acoustic guitar that I have of a really reputable, expensive, brand.
Right.
But I hate the way it sounds.
Oh,
Sounds like shit.
So interesting.
If you ask me.
How that happens.
And this thing's $50 that I got from a pawn shop in Ocala.
Oh shit.
I forget which one. Yeah, like 12 years ago. And and the other one was in a case because I played a charity event last night. And I didn't want to break it out, so I was practicing on this one today. And I was like, damn, this one sounds better than the other one.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a Fender 12 string that I ripped half the strings off of. And it ended up, so I kind of wanted to play this one. What's that? Is it good, you think?
I think so. Listen, just a double check. Yeah, I think we're good.
It's good?
Yeah.
Hope the levee in Shreveport does what it's supposed to do. And the rain keeps coming. And the rain keeps coming. I must have called you 99 times, but I couldn't get through. And the rain keeps coming. Yeah, the rain keeps coming. And the rain keeps coming. And the rain keeps coming. Nothing's ever for certain until the levee breaks down. The water comes in and the river takes the town. There's a shelter at the high school gym and got blankets and food. Oh, but you won't sleep easy. Oh, you won't sleep easy. It's been a few days since I heard any word from you. Yeah, and I don't sleep easy. Oh, I don't sleep. And the rain keeps coming. And the rain keeps coming. Yeah, and the rain keeps coming. Oh, and the rain keeps coming. Nothing's ever for certain until the levee breaks down. The
water comes in the river takes the town. Yeah, the river takes the town. Yeah, the river takes the town. There's a number you can call if your house gets washed away. It'll never be the same. No, it'll never be the same. When you held my hand and kissed me on the very first day. No, I'll never be the same. Oh, I'll never be the same. And the rain keeps coming, I'll never be the same. And the rain keeps coming, I'll never be the same. And the rain keeps coming, I'll never be the same. And the rain keeps coming. And nothing's ever for certain, all till the levee breaks down. The water comes in and the river takes the town. Oh, the river takes the town. Oh, yeah, the river takes the town. Oh, the river takes the town. There you go.
Woo! Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds so good.
When you're singing a Wood Brothers song, it's hard not to go full. He's got a voice like Willie Nelson, to where it's hard. It's got just enough of that kind of like nasally thing to it, to where it's hard to not just do an impression, because it's that distinctive and that, you know, like
that
it's
makes a ton of sense.
yeah. Like when Willie's playing, you know, I'll be like, "There was a time of the preacher." It's hard not to do
It's
that.
hard not to sing through your nose.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, just because it's got that bite where it just grabs you. And Woods is a lot smoother than that.
Yeah.
But he's got just a hint of it to where when you're singing, you're just like, "River takes the town," you know.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Oh yeah. So that was that. You want me to do one more? Want me to do one mine?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, I'll do. So this one, I think we're gonna put it on the new album, the new EP.
When is any timeline for that?
Nah, not really. I'm taking my time with it. I'm going a lot more jazz with the new album, but this song is it's just a folk song.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see how it fits, but the lyrics on it are probably better than anything else that'll be on the album. But I can't figure out a way to like give it the low end that I need. But we'll see. Let's see. Sometimes love ain't enough. Lay you down, make you tough. Sometimes love make you stay, make you turn, walk away. When pressure's on the levee, there's panic in the town. If those walls begin to fall, I keep you safe and sound, because I can be a bastard, you can be a liar. Smoking cigarettes down in the basement, with the house on fire. The house on fire. Draw the curtains, light a candle, let it burn until I'm home. Drive you crazy with every breath until my lungs ain't got nothing left. Oh, when all that's left is rubble and ashes in the wind, I hope I get another chance to change the shape I'm in, because I can be a bastard, you can be a liar, smoking cigarettes down in the basement with the house on fire. Oh yeah. Smoking cigarettes down in the basement with the house on fire. Oh yeah, with the house on fire. Ooh yeah, oh, with the house on fire. Oh, with the house on fire. And the lights have all gone out in the end. No one knows how far I'd go to turn them on again. They say everybody's dying, some a little faster. Oh, losing track of time has become easier than laughter. Put like that Waylon Jennings at the end. Yeah.
Oh my god! Oh, I love
Like,
that.
Put a little old school country right in the
Well,
end.
Hank Williams is what I thought.
Yeah,
I think
that's what it is.
someone to make a cry kind of thing.
Mhm.
Very in there.
Yeah, kind of the
Oh my
1 to 5 bass line.
Fucking great tune, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
Holy
it.
shit, that hit me pretty hard.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of my better lyrical ones.
Did the lyrics come first?
The lyrics came first for that one, yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of the beauty about the technology that we live in nowadays. You can write music in so many different ways.
Yeah.
I used to write linear, just like most singer-songwriters. Start banging around on the guitar, you write some songs with it, see what lyrics fit, or you pull your lyrics out of your drawer and you see what fits with the thing, or or maybe it hit. Now, I'll open up Logic and I have at my disposal every instrument ever known to man.
Right.
And I can start and they have these intuitive drum beats on there where I could start with a
drum beat that really feels good, and then a bass line comes, and then like I said, all the other instruments come, and then the song writes itself. But then every once in a while, I'll sit down with that, and it comes out left to right again.
Right.
Makes it really tough to get stuck in a rut.
That's cool.
Lyrics,
right?
Lyrics, you'll always get stuck in a rut.
Sure, it's writing, man.
Yeah, you get it. Just it's
totally
words
get
to
it.
paper.
Yeah.
It, you go through the periods where everything sounds stupid.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got out of one.
Did you get out?
Yep.
Welcome back.
Yeah, it's fucking feels good, man. But it's doing work.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing the artist way. Julie Cameron's the artist way. Getting up and doing my morning pages every morning.
No
and
shit.
Yeah, I was in a funk for a while where I was like, I'm an idiot.
Just blasting to paper.
Yep.
So you've been doing?
Yep. Just every morning. Sometimes it's just like, I just ate breakfast.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, just whatever. Just wrote.
And it clicked.
Finally clicked. But there are other things, because I'm telling you, like we were talking before off mic about how my phone died the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it's the happiest I've been. The happiest 3-day stretch of.
How about that?
I can't remember the last time I was this happy.
Damn.
I mean, again, Chris isn't happy about it because she can't get a hold of me, but.
Right.
But I'm just on cloud 9 all the time. Even like I had a motherfucker of a day at work yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Just about everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
Right. I mean Wednesday through Friday.
Whoa.
But I didn't have my phone, and I'm sure there are other factors. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that I'm coming out of that creative funk, and I'm sure there are other things that are. I've been eating a little bit better the last few days. Sure, there's all kind of variables.
Of course,
right?
yeah, environment.
Yep, but I feel very confident that not having the phone and not people can't get a hold of me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not checking it constantly. I mean, iPhones are addictive.
Terribly
Addictive.
In a really bad way.
Yeah, and
Very bad way.
I walked to work yesterday. It was just a perfect day, and I'm about 1.7 miles from work.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked to work because I got out of the house in enough time, because I was so relaxed when I woke up that I woke up instead of hitting my snooze 14 times. I woke up and was like, well, I want to do my morning pages and drink my coffee.
Yeah.
And I walked to work, and so on the way back, I was thinking about it. Like normally on the way back, if I'm walking almost 2 miles, by about a quarter of the way through, I'm on my phone for a second,
Of course,
or
yeah.
I've got my headphones, which. Not that there's anything wrong with listening to music on your way home or a podcast, but it was interesting what I've noticed. Like I noticed there's a little skeleton of an insect on the window pane.
Yeah.
And that thing has to have been there since we moved in back in June. It looks like it's been there forever. Never noticed it. This morning I noticed it.
So, are you saying that not having your phone is almost like how they say when you go blind or lose one of your senses, all your other senses
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
So you don't have your phone, you've got spidey sense for
Yeah.
everything else?
I'm invincible now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Yep. It's
I
amazing.
want to throw my phone in the river.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do too. We gotta figure out a compromise.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's not fair to her, but.
I don't have I'm a tech guy as far as like, I love electronics. I love to build electronics. I love this stuff. And I'm a futurist as well. I love reading Ray Bradbury. Just geeking out on where we're going.
Sure.
But I don't know if we're ready yet. I don't know if we're ready. Just humans in our self-control.
Well, it's happened so fast. Everything has happened so fast. And, like understanding your relationship with anything. It's a substance like anything else. You know? I mean, getting used to having a supercomputer in your pocket. We didn't have that. I mean, I'm trying to think when I got my first smartphone, but it wasn't 10 years ago. It was within that window. Yeah. So to think about the personal growth that it requires to be able to handle a substance that's that addictive.
Yeah. Especially one that it hits our biggest pressure points, which for the most part is like self-indulgence and narcissism and jealousy. It's just, it really, I don't like what it's done to music and musicians. I like what it's done to the availability of music.
I was going to say,
of course.
And also you just got done saying that with Logic you have all these other...
Right, yeah. I like what it's done to that, but when it comes to the human interaction with music, I don't like what it's really done. And I don't like what it's done to make indie artists feel like we have to do things, and I don't, because I'm in my 30s and I'm growing past it, I don't give a shit.
Right.
I'm a fuck you guy. Like,
Yeah.
if you tell me to do something, my first thing is to go fuck you, and
Yeah.
then think about it. But
I wonder if that's an Ocala thing too.
maybe, I think it probably is. Yeah.
I definitely have that.
Yeah. But it's turned a lot of musicians into thinking that they need to be more than their music.
Oh wow.
There's so much. They're putting so much at you because they feel like they need to, because they read some book that says you need to post on Instagram 5 times a day
Right.
or whatever, which is just exhausting.
It is.
Like and there's nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with social media either.
Sure.
If used for good, so to
Right,
speak.
right.
If you use it as a creative tool, like if you'll notice our Instagram page, I try not to post unless I have something that I think that my audience actually wants to see.
Yeah.
Right? And I try to give them a little bit more than just self-promotion.
Right.
You got to promote yourself. That's what it's there for half the time. Like,
Sure.
how else am I going to tell people we have a show?
Right.
So there's that aspect, and I'm totally lenient on all that. But it's posting just for the sake of posting. Like I think musicians should use it for something that would really probably enrich their soul, and use it as a creative outlet.
Mm-hmm.
And post things that are interesting, and post things that, again, like I think that they're like, give their artists, give your fans or your audience or whatever way more just content of something you think they're interested in their life coming from you, more product and less self-promotion.
Right.
As opposed to 90% of the time I see all these cats, and it's just it's 9 posts a day, and 9 of them are just self-promotion, and there's no goods. I'm like, I need more goods. Like,
Right.
Give me more goods, or quite frankly, I'm gonna unfollow you.
Right.
Because at this point, you're not enriching my life. You're a nuisance at this point.
Right.
There has to be a balance. You have to do a little bit of both.
That's a tough balance to strike too.
Well, it is, especially when, like I said, you're told all the damn time.
Yeah.
That, the way that you manipulate the algorithms to get your.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, though, I kind of go. I hate saying that phrase. At the end of the day, I feel like it's way worn out. But at the end of the day,
I would have noticed if you hadn't said anything.
yeah,
Now I won't stop.
You're
noticing.
gonna kill yourself thinking about it now, because
Yeah.
we say it all the time.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's your art form, and quit pimping it. Like, it's okay to sell out if somebody offers, take the money.
Yeah.
Because you're getting at least something in return for your thing. But they're pimping out their thing just for the idea of narcissism and a little bit of attention.
Right.
For what? For nothing. It's not actually getting you anywhere.
Yeah, that is a good question. Like, if it, because there's certainly utility to it, but is it making a difference? Like, are more people? So I'm gonna take it from the podcast standpoint. I do think more people. I definitely know. I know for a fact that I've reached a lot of people via social media.
Of course.
Right. But that being said, like I've said before, I don't mind doing it. I don't mind doing it. I don't mind posting on Instagram because, again, I do think of that as a creative outlet. And
Right.
as a writer, I love Twitter.
Sure.
It's the biggest challenge in the world to have to condense whatever I'm trying to say to that number of characters or whatever it is, even though they've gotten a lot more liberal with it. So it's not quite as impressive. But people who can do it well, and I don't think I do it well, I think I'm just not bad, People who do it well are so impressive. Jason Isbell is the most amazing person on Twitter.
Sure. Yeah.
He's a genius writer,
Right.
and he's able to say these things, and he almost still sticks to the 140 characters because
Is
he
that
can
right?
say these amazing things
Right.
in a sentence or two that seem so simple when you read them, but that aren't coming through my brain,
Sure.
and out my fingers.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. So let me rephrase it. I think that it's more about doing the thing on social media that actually fits you and what your personality and what your brand is, and whatever it is that you are, as opposed to just basically trying to do the things that you think you're supposed to do to build a brand.
Right.
That, like I said, they told you in some book. Because you're right. I see Jason Isbell on even Instagram.
Yeah.
And the things that normally wouldn't interest me in even somebody famous that I really like their music, they usually come across as pretty interesting to him because he's humorous.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy.
He's a
And what he
funny guy,
does is it's actually enriching. Even
Yeah.
if it's him sitting there eating dinner and wanting to bullshit to the camera, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Right? And I would like to think that if he looked back at it and thought, well, that's dumb, that doesn't bring nobody wants to see that. That he X's out of it and goes at it again.
Right.
Other bands don't do that. Tedeschi Trucks, man, my favorite. They don't post much. It's pretty much all just show pics, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe they let you in a little bit to it. Because I don't really feel like maybe that's just not their personality.
Probably not them.
And if they were, I would think to myself, well, that's not Derek Trucks.
Yeah.
He's doing that because somebody's, like a label is telling him, hey, you need to.
Right.
Right? It's not genuine. It's not authentic.
And you can pretty clearly tell the difference. I mean, you
Yeah,
can tell
very much.
Israel controls his own,
Sure.
his own social media.
Yeah, very
It's
much.
pretty obvious.
Yeah. So that's what gets me is the bullshit.
Yeah.
And there's so much of the bullshit that it, quite frankly, ends up taking up like 10 minutes of my day.
Right.
At which point I added up throughout the year, and I'm like, I just spent like 3 full days this year
Yeah.
looking at this minutia
Right.
that really didn't bring anything to anything.
Right.
Whereas there's other people that I follow that every time they post, I'm like on,
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
whatever they post is gonna be awesome.
Right.
I mean, Jeff Nolan. Do you know Jeff Nolan here in
I
town?
don't know Jeff,
Jeff's
no.
the curator at Hard Rock,
Okay.
so he's got the coolest job in the world.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, he does Memorabilia Mondays online, and it's just he's. If you ask me who the coolest person I know is, you won't even finish the sentence before I go. It's Jeff Nolan.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
and,
I gotta meet him.
Yeah, he's the other. He's Kaylee's guitar player, has been forever.
Oh,
in almost
okay.
all of her bands. He's in the Ludes.
Mhm.
Great guy. He's the best. Him and his wife Erin. Erin is a graphic artist here in town. They live a few miles down from here, and they're just really intelligent, out there, artistic people.
Yeah.
So everything they post is utterly hilarious.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
so funny. Everything, and they kind of come from the rock/punk era of the '80s, so everything is it has an air of sarcasm to it.
Yeah.
She could post 100 times a day, and I'd have no issue with it.
Right.
Because everything she posts is genuinely her.
Right.
Right? But yeah, you can just tell, and I see a lot of artists that I just see them posting because I'm like, you read that book.
Yeah.
I know the book you're talking about because I read part of it too, then put it down when I realized it probably doesn't work for me. And you're doing that because they told you to do that.
Right.
But you skipped the first chapter that says, everything we say in this book, don't just do it.
Yeah.
Do your own version of this. Be original.
Right.
They skipped chapter 1.
Right.
The chapter where it says, step 1, be really incredibly good at music.
Right.
Write mind-bendingly good songs that just rip hearts out.
Right.
And then step 2, make some t-shirt. Right?
Right,
They just
right.
make the fucking
Yeah,
t-shirt.
yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, you didn't see the chapter 1 where it says sing in key. Right? So that's the part that,
Learn the blues.
Yeah, learn how to
blues
play the
scale.
blues. Yeah. And I mean, I battle with that because, my band's Instagram page, I think we have like, 150 or 200 posts on there in the last 3 years. And they're almost all from when we're on the road, when I have some interesting content to give you that I think people would want to see. When we're not on the road, it's like 1 post a month.
Yeah,
Because I'll
yeah.
try to think of something and I'll go, that's stupid. Like,
Yeah,
nobody-
that's
no one wants to see
interesting.
this shit,
I guess like what I post when I see something interesting that I think my
Sure.
followers will find compelling, and I think I do okay. The only thing that you've got me so in my head about it though, because the only thing I think about that may not be that compelling is the self-promotion part. When I release an episode, I typically take a picture of like my phone screen playing the episode,
Right.
so it has the logo.
That's perfectly okay. Yeah, see, I'm not bashing self-promotion. That's the
Right.
only way we have to promote.
Right.
Yeah, it's the only play.
Right.
I'm just saying, not 90% self-promotion, 10%
Yeah.
content. Make it like
yeah.
50-50,
Yeah.
Well,
and stories allow for something. At first I made fun of Instagram stories. I was like, "What's the Snapchat bullshit?"
Yeah, right.
12-year-old bullshit.
Yeah.
And now I'm like obsessed. Now I can like move. I can pin the tag and move it around on the person's guitar and stuff. Chris taught me how to do that.
Nice.
So now I'm obsessed, and that's great because like if I fuck that one up, it's over in a couple seconds.
Yeah.
And it's gone.
And it's gone, and
24
nobody
hours.
thinks about it
Nobody
ever
thinks
again.
about it.
Yeah. I have to learn some restraint on when it comes to how much time and effort I want to put into a post.
Yeah.
Because I'll put entirely way too much time
I can see
into a
that.
post, knowing damn well this thing is in and out of somebody's iframe and mind in 10 seconds.
Yep.
Like if you look on our page, I did I like animation and making stuff like that creatively. So I built like a 60-second long animation video for one of my old songs.
Yeah.
Mainly because I just wanted to learn this new animation program I have at the house. Was bored.
Yeah.
And I wanted to learn this program because I like doing that type of shit. I'm a giant nerd. And so I did it to one of our old songs. But it came out kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this is cool. This is post-worthy. But I mean, it's animation. So there's 24 frames a second. 60 seconds, you can do the math. It took me like 3 weeks to do this thing. And I put it on and it, done. That's it. Then everybody's on to the next
20
thing.
likes.
Yeah, that's right. 20 likes and it's like out of everybody's feed. And I'm going, that probably was a poor choice of time management. The bang wasn't really worth the buck.
Yeah, but again, that comes back to the question of that we'll come full circle and the idea that like you did something that was artistically nurturing for you in that moment, right?
Sure.
Like you worked on a skill and you learned something.
Yeah.
And if your end goal is I want 7,000 new followers, well, that was a pretty poor choice of your time.
Poor jumping off point.
Yeah, but if your end goal was if the process was the end in itself, right,
Sure.
rather than a means to an end, then
awesome. Yeah, and you're right. And I probably need to I'm pretty square in that when it comes to music, right? Because of just trial and error, and because of now being in this business for 15, 16 years, and plenty of failures and some successes, and some things that were super gratifying and others that weren't. I've got that at least like the jumping off point when it comes to music down really good, to where it's very fulfilling. Whether good music comes out of that or not, whatever, that's that's subjective. But the motivation there, and it's coming from the perfect right place. Everything else that I do in life, though, I don't know. It's still just a learning process, just like everything else. I probably fucked that up,
Well, because you got to I feel like you got to relearn that for every discipline.
You're right. You do. It's not transferable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're just like a monk or something, and like you're just incredibly zen.
That's right. You're
centered.
super enlightened. Yeah. Oh my God.
Man, dude, this was so much fun. Thank you. This is gonna be great.
Just a couple Ocala boys.
I know. Yeah, we didn't get into that.
No,
Kevin Maines is a musician, but folks at home, he's also the greatest 9-year-old Little League player that has ever existed.
Yeah, 9 through 12.
9 through 12, home run champion. He and fucking Frank Shakuzzi, going back and forth.
Where is she at? She can hear us.
Yeah, I'm
She
sure
can hear us.
she
She's closing. If we hear a door close,
yeah,
that's what it is. These assholes are talking about Frank Shakuzzi.
Talking about Frank Shakuzzi again.
Peter Dupree.
Can they talk about anything other than Frank and Pete?
She'll never get it. You had to be there. It was a magical time.
It was special.
Just, home runs and Christmas. It was so good. I mean,
I caught one of Kevin's home runs in my hat when I was walking around the back of the field one day.
It was the age of home runs and Indiana Jones. What a magical time.
It's just all been downhill.
I know it.
Fucking radio came along.
Ruined it.
Ruined everything.
MTV with the bullshit.
And here we are.
Well, thanks for having me, man. It was a lot of fun.
Pleasure. I'm gonna get it up soon too.
Walking distance.
Yeah, it's perfect. We should just do like one of these a week.
Right. I got all this stuff in my house. We'll come over. I'll interview you for my podcast that doesn't exist yet.
I'd listen to that show.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Yep. Cool.
Kevin Maines, y'all, what an honor. What a great conversation. Such a gentleman, an incredible songwriter and player, and I'm so grateful for Kev for spending some time with us to talk about the Wood Brothers and talk about his own process and to share some of his music with us. Just such an honor, and I'm so grateful. Thank you to all of you for listening. Thank you so, so much for all that you do for us. Please, if you haven't already, go follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Marinade Podcast. We're on Instagram, Marinade_podcast, Facebook.com/Marinade Podcast. Really love interacting with people on social media, so please do that. If you haven't already, please give us a rating on your podcast app. If you haven't already, I thank you so much to the folks who have done so. It means a ton to us. Thank you so much for your love and support. Patreon is another thing that I wanted to mention. Our Patreon patrons are an incredible community of folks who I get to interact with on a lot deeper level than I necessarily do on social media or otherwise. If you want to check it out, I released kind of a sneak peek of some of the kind of content that we typically have on Patreon. It's now available to everybody. I sent out an advance copy of Kev's cover of the Wood Brothers, and let our Patreon patrons hear that. But now it has opened up to everybody. So that's the kind of thing that we have on Patreon, as well as a Patreon exclusive show called Jason's Journey, which is basically just me doing 15-20 minutes of discussion about some of the pivotal moments in my creative life, people I've met, things I've experienced, just things that have shaped my creative reality. So if you can swing it, every little bit helps on Patreon. Thank you so much to our patrons, and thanks for considering giving us a little bit of help over there. All right, y'all, what I'm getting down on, I got to see St. Paul and the Broken Bones recently, and the Seratones open for them. If you haven't seen St. Paul and the Broken Bones, do it. Also, check out the Seratones. Such a cool band. I finished Patriot, probably my favorite show ever, on Amazon. And speaking of Amazon, man, they are crushing it recently. I got to see You Were Never Really Here last night, starring Joaquin Phoenix. It's a film that really clips along, and Phoenix is absolutely masterful in it. I also finally got around to seeing Sorry to Bother You, and it is everything that was advertised. So incredible. Go check out Sorry to Bother You. I've been reading The Handmaid's Tale. I'm loving it. It's a fantastic book, and I also got a copy of Jeff Tweedy's memoir, and I made the mistake of reading the first couple of pages, and now I'm hooked. So now I've got these 2 books going. So I'm going to try to put Tweedy's memoir down and just focus on The Handmaid's Tale for right now. But those 2 books so far, really outstanding. I'll give you an update on them on the next in this series. This was episode 23 of the Marinade. It's part 1 of our 2018 in review series, and I am recording with 2 people today, actually. We're going to talk to Jordan Foley about Things Changed by American Aquarium, and then Luke Wagner and I are going to discuss Austin Lucas's Immortal Americans, and that's right after I finish doing this. So I'm so excited about the things that are happening. Thank you so much for your support. Give us some feedback on this particular series. This was part 1 with the great Kevin Maines. I love y'all. Thank you so much. Cheers, y'all.